It began as a city of shepherds and wolves, built on 7 hills. It grew into an empire that stretched from the misty highlands of Scotland to the deserts of Arabia. For 1,000 years, Rome was the heart of the civilized world, a beacon of law, engineering, and ambition. But empires, like men, are mortal. What forces built an empire that shaped the course of history? And what flaws festered within until even Rome's invincible legions could not hold back the tide of its own collapse? This is the story of the greatest empire the world has ever known, its glory, its greed, and its fall. According to legend, Rome was founded in 753 BCE. For 244 years, it was ruled by 7 kings. But the last, Tarquin the Proud, was a tyrant. His reign ended in a popular uprising, sparked by the rape of a noblewoman, Lucretia, by his own son. The Roman people in 509 BCE had had enough. They expelled the kings and swore never to be ruled by a single man again. Thus, the Roman Republic was born. It was a revolutionary system built on a delicate balance of power. Executive power was held by 2 consuls, elected annually to prevent any one man from becoming too powerful. The Senate, composed of the aristocracy, advised on policy. The Assemblies represented the common people. This system of checks and balances, the mos maiorum, the way of the ancestors, was the Republic's bedrock. Rome's power grew not just through military might, but through integration. Conquered peoples were often granted Roman citizenship or allied status. They built roads, like the famed Appian Way, that connected their new territories, allowing troops to march and trade to flow. This was the genius of Rome. It absorbed those it defeated, turning enemies into Romans. Rome's first true test on the world stage came from Carthage, a wealthy Phoenician trading empire in North Africa. The 3 Punic Wars between them were a fight for survival that would determine the master of the ancient world. The Second Punic War gave us one of history's greatest military geniuses, Hannibal Barca. In an audacious move, he marched his army, including war elephants, across the Alps to bring the war to Rome's doorstep. For 15 years, he roamed Italy undefeated. At the Battle of Cannae in 216 BCE, Hannibal executed a perfect tactical encirclement, destroying an entire Roman army. It was the worst defeat in Roman history. Rome was on the brink. But they refused to surrender. They raised new legions and adopted a strategy of attrition, avoiding direct battle while harassing Hannibal's supply lines. The Republic's answer was Publius Cornelius Scipio. While Hannibal was trapped in Italy, Scipio took the war to Africa, threatening Carthage itself. He forced Hannibal to return home and face him at the Battle of Zama in 202 BCE. There, Scipio defeated the legendary general. Carthage was crushed, its empire dismantled, and Rome was left as the undisputed master of the Western Mediterranean. Victory abroad bred a cancer at home. The endless wars had enriched the aristocratic Senate, but ruined the small farmers who formed the backbone of the legions. While they were away fighting, their farms failed. They returned home to debt, selling their land to wealthy patricians who built vast estates, latifundia, worked by slaves. A new, restless urban proletariat grew in Rome. In 133 BCE, the tribune Tiberius Gracchus attempted land reform to redistribute public land to the poor. The Senate, seeing this as a threat to their wealth and power, had him and his followers clubbed to death. A decade later, his brother Gaius met the same fate. The unthinkable had happened. Political murder in the Republic. The precedent was set. The body politic was bleeding. The military crisis came next. Facing invading Germanic tribes, the general Gaius Marius reformed the army. He opened the legions to the landless poor, who enlisted for 25-year terms. These professional soldiers owed their loyalty not to the abstract republic, but to the general who paid them and promised them land upon retirement. The army was now a personal tool for ambitious men. The consequence was immediate. Marius's rival, Sulla, used his loyal army to march on Rome and seize power by force. After a civil war, he became dictator and posted proscription lists, legally sanctioning the murder of his political opponents and confiscating their property. The Republic's core principle, that no citizen could be killed without a trial, was dead. Sulla's march on Rome was a point of no return. What happened next? The story of the empire is even more dramatic. Subscribe to see how the story ends. By the 1st century BCE, the Republic was a hollow shell, controlled by a few powerful men. The First Triumvirate was an informal alliance between three of them: Pompey, Crassus, and Julius Caesar. Together, they bypassed the Senate and carved up the Republic for themselves. Caesar used his position to conquer Gaul, a territory roughly the size of modern France. His Gallic Wars made him fabulously wealthy and, crucially, gave him command of a battle-hardened, fanatically loyal army. In Rome, Pompey and the Senate grew fearful of his power. In 49 BCE, the Senate, now dominated by his rivals, commanded Caesar to lay down his command. He was faced with a choice: obey and face almost certain political destruction and exile, or defy the Senate and start a civil war. He chose war. By leading his legion across the Rubicon River, the boundary of his province, Caesar committed treason. He is said to have declared, "Alia jacta est," the die is cast. There was no turning back. The civil war was swift and brutal. Caesar defeated Pompey's forces and pursued him to Egypt, where Pompey was assassinated. Caesar was the sole master of the Roman world. He was appointed dictator for life, a title that sounded the final death knell for the Republic. On the Ides of March, a group of senators, believing they were liberators saving the Republic, assassinated Julius Caesar. But they were 500 years too late. The Republic was already dead. Their act only plunged the Roman world into another, even bloodier round of civil wars. From the chaos emerged Caesar's adopted heir, a young man named Octavian. He defeated his rivals, Mark Antony and Cleopatra, and in 31 BCE stood alone at the top of the Roman world. In 27 BCE, Octavian performed a masterstroke of political theater. He restored the Republic, while in reality consolidating ultimate power for himself. The Senate gave him the title Augustus, the revered one. He became the first Roman emperor, and the 200-year period known as the Pax Romana, the Roman peace, had begun. This was Rome's golden age. The empire's borders were secured by professional legions. A common currency and the safety of the roads fueled unprecedented trade from Britain to Syria. Engineering marvels sprung up across the empire. Aqueducts brought fresh water, amphitheaters hosted spectacular games, and monumental architecture proclaimed the glory of Rome. The 2nd century CE saw the reign of the 5 good emperors, a period of stable succession and competent rule. The empire reached its greatest territorial extent under Trajan. Hadrian consolidated these gains, building his famous wall in Britain. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, spent his reign fighting barbarian incursions on the Danube, writing his meditations in a military camp. For the people of the empire, the Pax Romana meant stability, safety, and the spread of Roman culture, or Romanitas. But beneath the glittering surface, the old problems remained: an over-reliance on slave labor, a stagnant economy, and a constant pressure on the frontiers. The death of Marcus Aurelius' son, Commodus, in 192 CE ended the Golden Age. But the true collapse began in 235 CE with the assassination of Emperor Alexander Severus. What followed was a 50-year period of chaos known as the Crisis of the 3rd century. The empire fractured. Military generals were proclaimed emperor by their legions, only to be murdered months later by their own men. In 50 years, there were over 26 legitimate emperors and countless usurpers. The empire literally split into 3 separate, warring states.
The economy imploded. To pay the armies, emperors debased the currency, reducing the silver content in coins until they were virtually worthless. Hyperinflation raged, destroying savings and trade. Cities built defensive walls as civil administration broke down, and brigands roamed the countryside. With the legions fighting each other, the frontiers lay undefended. Germanic tribes poured across the Rhine and Danube. In the east, the powerful Sasanian Persian Empire captured Emperor Valerian, who reportedly died as a humiliated prisoner, used as a human footstool for the Persian king. Rome was dying. It seemed nothing could stop the complete disintegration of the ancient world's greatest power. In 284 CE, a savior emerged from the army, Emperor Diocletian. He realized the empire was too vast for one man to rule. To save it, he fundamentally transformed it. He created the Tetrarchy, splitting the empire into eastern and western halves, each with a senior and a junior emperor. This provided stability and multiple fronts for defense. To combat inflation, he issued the Edict on Maximum Prices, fixing the cost of thousands of goods. To tie people to their vital professions, he made jobs hereditary. He also launched the last and greatest persecution of Christians, whom he saw as a threat to the traditional Roman state religion. His reforms were authoritarian, turning the Roman state into a heavily taxed, militarized, and regimented machine. But it worked. He stopped the collapse. After another civil war, Constantine emerged victorious. Before a crucial battle in 312 CE, he reportedly had a vision of a Christian cross in the sky. He painted the symbol on his soldiers' shields and won. From that point, Christianity's fate was tied to Rome. Constantine legalized Christianity and, seeing that the empire's center of gravity had shifted east, founded a new capital, Constantinople, the New Rome, on the site of the ancient city of Byzantium. It was a fortress city, perfectly positioned for trade and defense. The division between East and West was now cemented in stone. In the late 3rd century, a new and terrifying force erupted from the east, the Huns. Their violent migration pushed entire tribes of Goths, Vandals, and others fleeing into Roman territory. At the Battle of Adrianople in 378 CE, a Gothic army annihilated the Roman legions and killed the emperor. It was a military disaster from which the Western Empire would never truly recover. For the first time, a barbarian army could defeat a Roman field army in open battle. In 410 CE, the Visigoth king Alaric laid siege to Rome itself and sacked the Eternal City. The psychological shockwave reverberated throughout the empire. For 800 years, Rome had been safe from foreign invasion. The myth of its invincibility was shattered. The end came quickly. The Vandals conquered Rome's breadbasket, North Africa. Various barbarian groups carved out kingdoms in Gaul, Spain, and Britain. The Western emperor became a puppet of barbarian generals. In 476 CE, the German general Odoacer deposed the last Western emperor, a boy ironically named Romulus Augustulus. He sent the imperial insignia to the Eastern emperor in Constantinople, stating that the West no longer needed an emperor. The Roman Empire in the West was formally extinguished. It was not a dramatic explosion, but a quiet administrative whimper. But Rome did not completely die. The Eastern Roman Empire, which we call the Byzantine Empire, survived for another 1,000 years, preserving Roman law, Greek learning, and Christianity until its fall to the Ottomans in 1453. The shadow of Rome is long. Its Latin language gave birth to the Romance languages. Its legal principles underpin the civil law of most of Europe. Its architectural forms, the arch, the dome, the basilica, defined buildings for millennia. The Christian church, which rose under its auspices, carried its administrative structure into the modern world. The fall of Rome is the ultimate cautionary tale. It was not felled by a single event, by a cascade of failures: political corruption, economic collapse, military overstretch, and the inability to integrate new peoples. It reminds us that no civilization, no matter how powerful, is immune to the tides of history. The stones of the Forum are silent, but their lesson echoes through the ages, that the greatest threat to an empire often comes not from the barbarians at the gate, but from the rot within.